Here's what's on this episode of Formula World. As always, you can find timestamps for these stories in the description or as a pinned comment. First up on Formula World, F1 has no depth. 1992 F1 World Champion Nigel Mansell has recently come out criticising the sport for its lack of depth and went on to explain that the problem stems from having too few cars on the grid. No disrespect to Formula 1, but the depth of competition is not there like it was in the 80s and 90s. We want to see 26 cars on the grid. There is an awful lot of worthy drivers who are backlogged and have nowhere to go. Through the years, there was always a new influx of blood every year, always cars to get into. That has dried up. Now a driver has almost twice the career span, which is good for them, but the drivers waiting to break in will never get the opportunity. Montoya dishes backhanded compliment to Alonso. Fernando Alonso has made no secret that he is targeting motorsport's Triple Crown, which is an unofficial title comprising of a win at Le Mans, Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500. And his former F1 rival Juan Pablo Montoya believes he can do it, but was quick to remind the world he is even closer than Fernando to achieving it. He certainly has the ability to achieve it, but it's not easy. The truth is, I am closer than him. I think we are two drivers who are not afraid to try new things. I don't see any other F1 drivers trying to do that. When you're young and in Formula 1, you believe there is nothing beyond that. Wehrlein offered reserve driver role. After a couple of tough seasons for Pascal Wehrlein, he was unable to secure an F1 drive for the upcoming 2018 season. This has marked the end of his current run in F1, with many believing that his Mercedes backing would also end there. But this isn't to be, as Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has come out singing praise for the young German and even offered him a role within the top team to keep him involved in the sport. Pascal definitely deserves a place in Formula 1. He is certainly one of the fastest drivers. We have supported Pascal since 2013, and he earned his chance in Formula 1 after his DTM victory in 2015. After that, he experienced two not-so-easy years in Formula 1 with Manor and Sauber. But we will keep him in our racing family in 2018 and also offer him a role as F1 test driver at Mercedes to keep his door open to Formula 1 for 2019. Grosjean wants to race until he's 40. Romain Grosjean's history with Formula 1 goes back a decade, to when he was first announced as Renault's test driver, and has since gone on to drive 6 full seasons in the sport. But the 31-year-old Swiss-born Frenchman still thinks he has a long way to go before retiring, possibly until he's 40. I still have a long way to go to the end. I started when I was 27 really in Formula 1, so I feel like I can go a long way, maybe 40 or just before 40. I still believe I've got 8-9 seasons ahead, so I'm pretty good. Ford not ruling out F1 return. The car manufacturing giant Ford has a long history in F1, but hasn't featured on the grid in any way since 2004. But Ford's motorsport boss Mark Rushbrook believes that anything can happen, especially if the price is right. Hybrid power will be relevant for a long time for Ford, so I'd never say never to Formula 1, especially if it introduces budgets. Alonso made Honda look bad. Head of driver development at Red Bull, Helmut Marko, has been keeping a watchful eye on the progress of Honda and believes that they will be able to provide a competitive power unit for Toro Rosso this upcoming season. He also went on to state that he feels Fernando Alonso was going out of his way to make the Honda power unit look worse than it was. Honda is very active and has already found something. Maybe they'll manage to be on the level of Renault with the second engine. When Honda was working with McLaren, they had to compromise because of the chassis specification from McLaren. They could not develop freely and were pretty limited. On top of that, Alonso did everything to make the engine look bad. Formula World fans react. Should Rosberg return? In the previous episode of Formula 1, I asked whether you thought Rosberg should make a comeback. Here's what you had to say. The results are pretty clear. 58% of you would like to see Rosberg make a comeback. However, a fairly large group of 38% of you decided that you didn't really want to see him again, and 4% of you voted for the somewhat tongue-in-cheek option of "Who is Rosberg?" I'd also like to apologise for the big delay between uploads. I've been far busier than usual in my life outside YouTube this past week, and unfortunately haven't been able to upload as regularly as I would normally. Good news is, things are heading back to normal, and I'm looking to upload even more than before, as I have a backlog of stories to go through. And with your support, we can make this channel bigger and better than ever. Do you think F1 lacks depth? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to vote in the poll. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos for all the latest in the world of Formula 1.